Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as was the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, let's just dive in and let's start off with this tweet here. So I have to give a big shout out to 801_XRP. He brought this to my attention today, and this is talking about Project Sela. This is a new CBDC ecosystem plan from the BIS. This is focused on an accessible and secure retail CBDC ecosystem. And this is definitely interesting at a time where we've seen some big connections so far with Ripple this year. First off, we know that Ripple joined the BIS Cross-Border Payments Task Force with the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure. Now, this was a big one. This was August 10th. But then we also seen some other big connections to some of the names tied to Project Sela. For an example, right? Project Sela demonstrates that retail CBDC can support access, cybersecurity, and competition while retaining cash features. The BIS Innovation Hub experiment was conducted jointly with the Bank of Israel on the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. This is the big one to focus on. The HKMA. The project tests new intermediary, the access enabler, that reduces liquidity and settlement risk and operating cost. Project Sela shows that with preventative design, access to our CBDC does not compromise cybersecurity. Now, I do have this video here. This is 4 minutes and almost 50 seconds long. If you guys do want to skip ahead, that's fine. I hope that YouTube doesn't mute this. I think that we need to watch this real quick. And I'm going to fully break down everything around this video, but listen closely to what their focus fully is here.
Central bank money forms the core of our global monetary system, offering a foundation of safety, neutrality, accessibility, and integrity. As economies become increasingly digital, central banks are considering the possibilities and challenges of a retail central bank digital currency, or CBDC. But designing a well-functioning retail CBDC system is not a simple task. While the central bank will play a critical role in operating the core of the system and ensuring sound and secure payments, payment needs of the general public are diverse and constantly evolving. One way to meet this demand is through a vibrant community of intermediaries who, through open competition, can provide innovative and accessible payment services and handle the large...
Now, the key there is that this is private sector, and this is all through APIs. Remember what I was telling you guys about Ripple's cloud-based payment solution? How it's an API, right? Well, Ripple is a private sector player, and they could very well be a PSP here, where we do have Ripple Connect at the core here as well, and this will have access to everything. This is something to really kind of focus on, because we do know that through Ripple's API, cloud-based payment solution, which is connected to Volante and even Finastra, they have access to instant payments. They also have access to instant liquidity. There's a lot of great opportunities there for the central banks and for the global financial system.
Operational burden of customer-facing activities. However, increased access and a greater number of intermediaries could heighten exposure to cybersecurity threats. For CBDC as a critical financial market infrastructure, cybersecurity is essential. With all this in mind, Project Sela tests the feasibility of an accessible and cyber-secure CBDC ecosystem through hands-on building of a proof of concept that is conducted through the lens of policy, legal, cybersecurity, and technology. The ecosystem is designed to maximize access to CBDC for users and payment service providers, while also minimizing the associated cybersecurity risk through preventative architecture design. The project also aims to preserve the desirable attributes of cash and capture the benefits of digitalization. Sela is a joint experiment between the BIS Innovation Hub Hong Kong Center, the Bank of Israel, and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. It is also supported by private sector partners FIS, M10, Clifford Chance, and Checkpoint Software Technologies. The main participants in the Sela architecture include a central bank that operates the CBDC platform and RTGS system, funding institutions that manage customer deposits and ATMs, a new type of intermediary called an access enabler that provides CBDC services and all other customer-facing operations.
Now, this access enabler That's the key one to focus on as well, because if you guys heard what he just said, they are going to be providing the CBDC infrastructure. They're going to be providing the things that are needed in order to reach the other advantages, right? Which is instant liquidity and instant payments and settlement and things like that. And does that sound familiar to you guys out there? Well, if it doesn't, it's okay. We will go over that.
And end users, any entity with retail payment needs. Access enablers play a critical role in increasing access to CBDC services, developing innovative CBDC payment solutions, and intermediating between the central bank and end customers. A defining attribute of these enablers is that they never hold customer funds. This distinguishes them from intermediaries commonly seen in today's systems, where intermediaries need to hold liquidity or client funds on their balance sheet. Consider, for example, an end user named Alice paying with a credit card to a merchant. The funds go from Alice's bank account to her card issuing bank, to the merchant's acquiring bank, and finally to the merchant's bank account. The value transfer isn't instant, and intermediaries need to take possession of the funds or hold liquidity against their commitments along the payment chain. This imposes costs that are often passed to the end user. In Cella's architecture, messages move between participants, but CBDC ownership moves instantly and directly between Alice and the merchant, settled on the CBDC ledger. Since access enablers don't hold customer funds, this may lower the barrier of entry for providing CBDC services, leading to a more vibrant and competitive payments ecosystem. At the same time, this increased access should not come at the cost of greater cybersecurity risks. Cella's architecture attempts to minimize cybersecurity risk by preventative design, paying special focus on careful storage and transmission of user data, authentication and authorization methods that create strong and flexible communication channels, and a risk-oriented redistribution of programmability. Project Cella demonstrates that an accessible CBDC ecosystem does not necessarily come at the cost of greater cybersecurity risk. Access to CBDC can be supported by a novel type of intermediary called an access enabler that, through lower barriers of entry, can increase the competition and innovation in payment services. Cella's findings show promise that with careful preventative architecture design, cybersecurity risks can be mitigated.
So there you guys have it, right? Now, where is any of the connections with Ripple? Well, don't worry, you'll get there. First, I want to go over a few things. So first off, here is the payment flow that they showed in the video. So this is the existing digital payment versus the Cella CBDC payment. And again, we are just really kind of cutting out the banks, right? The user's bank, the recipient's bank, the acquiring bank, and the issuing bank. Those are gone. Now we have the user, and then we have at the endpoints there, that is going to be what they mentioned up here, right? This is going to be that new intermediary, the access enabler. This is definitely interesting to note, considering the fact that the enabler is just a converter, essentially. They convert the currencies. Sounds very familiar, right? So this is definitely an interesting one. But as I've said, we need to pay attention to what is happening here with the HKMA, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, because they are a key player here, and they're going to be utilizing the EHKD. Now, if that doesn't sound familiar to you guys, well, you need to focus on the connections back to Ripple recently. For an example, here we have back in July 7th, this is from Anthony Welfare, CBDC specialist at Ripple. Here we have CBDCs are gaining traction globally, and Ripple CBDC team are focusing in on real world use cases for a CBDC or stablecoin. Last week, I shared 2 real use cases at a CEE FinTech conference in Romania. Tokenization is the future of real estate. The pilot combines the hypothetical EHKD, Hong Kong dollar, tokenized real estate and finance lending protocols, allows users to tokenize real estate as collateral for loans. The solution will leverage Ripple's CBDC platform, a secure private permissioned ledger. And here you guys have tokenization is the future of real estate. This is all through the EHKD. Very interesting. Now, we also have over here, this is from May 18th, Ripple to demonstrate tokenization in HKMA EHKD pilot program using new CBDC platform. This is their new CBDC platform that's at the center point of this. And this got a lot of traction. A lot of people were focused heavily on this because this is actually a pretty big update. Because again, it's going to be utilizing the new private ledger technology with XRP ledger technology with enhanced functionality, including offline transactions and non-smartphone use. This is crucial to note because guess what? This is everything that we have been learning about with CBDCs that the BIS has been really kind of focused heavily on, which is offline payments and non-smartphone use. That way we can bank the unbanked. And also, we know that they are heavily focused even on other CBDC use cases, including securities transactions, and they are working with, here we have, and I did mention this to you guys back in the end of July. This is with the EU, with the ESMA. This is a CBDC. This is a hypothetical solution, but this was a big one that recently got brought back up because Axiology, which is a new existing project with SuperHow, they're actually now working with Ripple with the XRP Ledger based technological layer for DLT transaction settlement system, a new regulated institution type under EU DLT pilot regime regulation. This is going to be heavily focused on tokenized securities and also secondary market for tokenized securities as well through the AMM. This is a big one to look at as well because this is going to be integration of regulated settlement coins, Mika stablecoins, and even CBDCs as well. CBDCs are heating up on Ripple. And now we get this with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, which we already know is working with Ripple on CBDCs. And this is talking about reducing settlement risk and ensuring liquidity. The craziest thing is that when we look into the actual project, I'm going to break down a few things because it's almost word for word what we have been talking about with Ripple forever. A few quotes down here, though. One of them from the BIS, Project Sella explored a feasibility of a CBDC system where the central bank operates the retail ledger and a new type of intermediary called an access enabler. This is new, and this is essentially what we would call, what Ripple is doing. Provides broader access to the CBDC, promoting competition and innovation. It showed that this can be achieved without compromising cybersecurity or the privacy of end users from the central bank. Then we have from the HKMA, Project Sella provided valuable practical insights into the cybersecurity, technological, legal, and policy aspects of a retail CBDC implementation. While the HKMA has not yet made a decision on whether and when to introduce a retail CBDC in Hong Kong, Project Sella's outcomes will inform our ongoing exploration of a possible EHKD. We hope Project Sella will also benefit other central banks in their own evaluations of different retail CBDC architectures. And yeah, that's a good thing to also note is that even the Ripple plans with the EHKD, that's a pilot program. They're working on the pilot program and seeing the benefits of it. And if the benefits are very beneficial, guess what? They're most likely going to introduce it. So, when we look at this, I do want to talk about a few things here. One, what the Access Enabler actually does. Well, they are going to be core for the system. We do see that here, like a novel type of intermediary. The Access Enabler is a core part of the system. It handles all customer-facing RCBDC services without ever holding end users RCBDC at any point in the process, thus eliminating the need to hold funds to ensure liquidity or to reduce settlement risk. Moreover, the Access Enabler does not need to hold funds on its own balance sheet. This removes two significant sources of cost, complexity, and risk when compared with current payment service providers. Very interesting. Now, we are also going to be seeing instant finality for transactions as well being achieved through this. And we also know that from the actual full breakdown over here, so if we actually scroll down, I know that was it's a little bit further down in the list, but we do know that this is also focused heavily on liquidity. I believe that it was right down here. So here we have Sela tests the feasibility of an accessible and cybersecure RCBDC proof of concept. In doing so, it assumes that competition, innovation, access, and cybersecurity are desirable properties of an RCBDC payments platform, and that these properties can be achieved through a public-private partnership that supports a vibrant ecosystem of private sector intermediaries. Again, the public-private sector partnership is crucial to note here, because that also does mean that all of the private entities within the space, for example, Ripple, could very well be a part of this. Now, we do know that a lot of the benefits here are right on par with what we have been talking about. Here we have the SELA POC aim to maximize access for end users and service providers by lowering the barriers to entry for intermediaries and foster competition and innovation in the private sector. It mitigates cybersecurity threats by preventative software design, preserve the desirable attributes of cash, including absence of credit risk, wide accessibility, also safety as a means of payment and store of value, provision of instant settlement, low-cost operation, and an appropriate level of privacy for end users, with, of course, the central bank, and capture the benefits of digitalization, such as providing frictionless and location-independent payment, instant liquidity, and programmability. Other design criteria such as performance, scalability, offline, and cross-border transactions are beyond the project's direct scope. No design decisions were made that prevent these functions from being supported. So this is actually pretty big. All right. And the ecosystem design, they've already broke this fully down in the video. I already went over it. But what's very interesting about this is this section here. So it's a full stack solution of the overall RCBDC ecosystem, including the RCBDC ledger and its connected infrastructures and participants. The core of the SELA POC is the RCBDC ledger run by the central bank, which is a private permissioned and account-based DLT system, storing pseudo-anonymous and unique representations of each end user registered on the network and the corresponding account balances. The RCBDC ledger is accompanied by a central bank hosted RCBDC application outside the ledger, providing business logic for the platform, such as coordinating with the other components operated by the central bank. The POC was also designed to be modular and to integrate into traditional payment infrastructure, such as a central bank operated RTGS system, FI deposit accounts, and ATMs to support the conversion of an RCBDC to and from bank deposits and cash. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I would love to see what really happens here. And we even see here that the project is inspired by open banking and decentralized finance protocols as they support open access to financial data and users holding their own funds and unbundling of financial services. This is definitely interesting. I believe that at this current moment in time, we are seeing things really heating up around CBDC talk and design. And I really do think that now is probably the best time to look at some of the connections here, some of the projects and some of the names tied to these projects. And even here we have them talking about the Bank of England, right? The project also builds on global central banks, CBDC explorations such as the Bank of Israel's digital shekel and also the Bank of England's BOE digital pound and the European Central Bank's digital euro, where private sector involvement in the RCBDC ecosystem is highlighted as a key to supporting innovation and where the roles and responsibilities are distributed amongst the central bank and the supervised private sector intermediaries in the form of a public-private partnership. And remember, we already know that through the Bank of England, first off, they collaborated with Quant. Quant is a key component as well. They have been working on the digital pound with the Digital Pound Foundation with Ripple as well. And we also know that the Bank of England has a ton of experiments that they have done and POCs with Ripple, which I've mentioned many times in the past. They've actually confirmed that they achieved a lot of great things with Ripple. A lot of the things that they were trying to solve with RTGS systems, specifically atomic settlement between two RTGS systems, was achieved with Ripple. So as we really kind of look at that, that is crucial to note. And we also know that the Bank of England deemed this RCBDC platform model the most efficient mechanism to deliver the digital pound, with the goal to enable a diverse range of organizations to join the digital pound ecosystem to provide innovative services to consumers and households. And again, we already know that Ripple and Quant were already exposed through the Bank of England. And then also we see the HKMA's project EHKD, which examines different RCBDC design and architectural issues. And it also supports the HKMA's efforts in promoting open banking on top of the recent introduction of the Open API framework for the Hong Kong banking sector in 2018. Again, all of this is crucial to note because listen, when we really kind of look at CBDCs, we know that API technology, specifically even with the Bank of England and the BIS's quant partnership, right? It wasn't even a partnership, it was Project Experiment, right? They found out that APIs are crucial. It's like a core piece of this. Being able to plug and play with these technologies is something to really kind of know. This is why I focus heavily on APIs. A lot of people think that it's crazy to focus on the APIs, but the API might be the secret sauce for the CBDCs. And when we look at that, right, like that's how they can tap in to specific things like, for example, the Ripple Cloud or RippleNet Cloud, right, where you could tap into XRP. And this is all private and public sector engagement, right? Like they are engaged through the private and public sector engagement. And they even mention Project Rosalind, which is, again, focusing on the RCBC application programming interface, the API layer. That's why I bring this up, right? Because all of this is crucial to note. And then also, we get another insight here. Sela is also informed by legal and cyber literature on, for example, the legal principles on digital assets from the International Institute for Unification of Private Law and Cybersecurity and Resilience Frameworks for FMIs and CBDCs. This is also from the CPMI, the Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructure, the same one that is tied back to the BIS with the Cross-Border Payment Task Force. A few other players are tied to this as well. And this is the full foundation of existing work and literature. These are all of the key players tied to this. And again, all of those projects like we talked about, right, that include digital assets, DLT, API plug and play, like all of them are tied to this. They're utilizing all of the existing work and literature. This is why I focus heavily on a lot of these projects. So as we look at this, one thing to really fully take away from this is the focus on liquidity, focus on instant settlement, utilizing private and public sector engagements. Also, they are going fully digital. They want to go fully digital. They are utilizing DLT. They are tapping in to, a few new things here. For example, the biggest one that we've seen were these new access enablers, which again, they don't really fully give us an insight on this besides the full breakdown of it being the core of the system and how this will handle all the customer-facing RCBDC services, which again, really kind of takes me back to the Ripple CBDC platform. Maybe it's me, but that's what I really kind of look at because we know that from the recent engagements from Ripple and from the recent insights around CBDCs, we know that CBDC platform could handle pretty much all of this. They could very well be the access provider or the access enabler in this case. So that's definitely interesting. And again, there's so much information in this, but at the end of the day, we're now seeing the central bank of central banks, right? Exploring these use cases. Do you honestly think that they are exploring these CBDC use cases through DLT, tapping into digital currencies and tapping into the actual private and public sector engagements that heavily focus on API plug and play through DLTs, through digital currencies, through digital assets, DLTs? Do you honestly think that they're doing this for fun? They're trying to usher us into a system that has 24/7 liquidity ensured. One, they want to eliminate pre-funding fully. How are they going to do all of this? How are they going to do this? I've talked about this many times in the past. Like, a lot of people continue to write off the idea that Ripple is tied to any of this. The problem is that not enough people are looking at the major players that are engaged on these major engagements. Like, for example, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. They don't even have an EHKD yet. They're exploring that with Ripple. We know that. And the solution is leveraging Ripple's CBDC platform. So when we look at what is happening here, there is not a doubt in my mind that Ripple is not tied to a lot of these major announcements. We already know that Ripple is engaged with the BIS. We already know that they are working with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. We already know that they have worked in the past with the Bank of England. This is crucial to know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, though. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. This is very interesting considering the fact that we now have this new intermediary now. Like, this is fully new. And this is reducing liquidity and settlement risk and operating cost, which is the full focus of what Ripple has been trying to do for forever now. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, set notifications on for guys more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.